Hey everyone, and welcome to the Nerd Room, where we talk all things comics and movies. This is episode number 23, where we'll be discussing X-Men and Apocalypse in the comics. I'm one of your hosts, Tim.
I'm Troy.
And I'm Elliot.
Elliot, welcome to the show, buddy.
Hey, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure to have you here in the Nerd Room. By way of introduction, why don't you just tell everyone a little bit about what sort of nerd you subscribe to?
Sure. Well, I was a big X-Men and Wolverine fan growing up, so I kind of collected all of those comics through my young and early teen years. Yeah, really just Wolverine was my guy, so happy to be here talking about this with you guys.
Yes,
Awesome.
We had to bring him in because Troy and I don't particularly divulge into the X-Men universe as much as, say, Spider-Man or the Avengers.
Exactly.
So we need to bring a ringer in.
Yeah, definitely. Guru.
So, Elliot, why don't you just give the listeners a bit of an idea of where you fall as far as the comic book movies that have been released this year. So kind of maybe just give us a quick ranking of Batman vs. Superman, Civil War, and Deadpool.
Sure. I mean, as you probably guessed, I'm more of a Marvel guy, so...
That's my boy.
Batman, Superman, I mean, I enjoyed the movie, actually, more just from an action standpoint, and, you know, I wasn't too invested in the lives of the characters, really, just because I never really collected those comics. So, you know, that's going to kind of be at the bottom of my little list here, and then Civil War is just going to be right at the top. Obviously, I was looking forward to that one. I think a lot of people were.
Yeah.
And it's not to say Deadpool wasn't a great movie, because it was, but, you know, you got to pick your winner. So,
Yeah.
But that being said, I've been more excited for X-Men Apocalypse than I was for Civil War before it came out, and that's just because those are my guys. So
We've talked a bit about this on previous podcasts, and I think my tone has changed a bit now. I haven't gone back and reread some of the stuff in preparation for this podcast.
Yeah.
And I'm actually a lot more excited for this because I didn't have like this huge background with Apocalypse. I don't really know much of his story. Mm-hmm. And now having gone back and reread some of the stuff from The Rise of Apocalypse and Age of Apocalypse, I'm super excited about this villain now, more so than I was a week or two ago. And so I'd really encourage people who are kind of sitting on the fence like Troy and I were a couple weeks ago, because for me, the trailers haven't really brought me in.
No.
Like, I like the universe, I like the characters and that, but having gone back and reread some of the stuff, I'm pretty excited about it.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Before we get to all that, let's jump into a bit of news. So, jumping off here with MCU news, Thor Ragnarok. So, Marvel keeps just hammering us with news week on, week out, right? And this is another one that this movie is kind of, you know, it's been filled with a bit of uncertainty, some conjecture as to exactly what this movie is going to be, who's going to be in it. We've heard lots of casting rumors, everything from Mark Ruffalo to Kate Blanchett. And all those people were confirmed this week. So they released an image of what is going to be Kate Blanchett's character, the main villain of Thor Ragnarok, and that's going to be Hela.
Yes.
So they released a really cool image with her giant antler helmet thing.
Yeah, very Maleficent-like.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And so they confirmed her, they confirmed Ruffalo, they also confirmed, which was something that we already knew, Hemsworth, Hiddleston for Loki, Anthony Hopkins as Odin.
Yes.
So we have all kind of the main cast back.
And the girl from Creed, I can't remember her name.
Yeah, Tessa Thompson.
Yeah, I think she's playing Valkyrie.
Yeah, Valkyrie.
Right, but no Natalie Portman.
No, she's gone.
Yeah, she's done.
Yeah, she's out of here, which I think a lot of people are going to be a little happier about. She seemed to drag down Thor the Dark World, and I think this one is going to be set just purely on either Asgard or some of these other realms.
Yes.
Other planets, if you will, maybe.
Yeah.
Because we have some other confirmation of some interesting characters in here. So, Carl Urban from Star Trek.
Nice.
So, he plays Dr. McCoy on Star Trek. He's
Dredd.
Yeah, and Dredd, yeah. And so he's going to be playing the Executioner, or Scourge. He's an interesting add to this cast. Because in the comics, and if you've watched some of the Earth's Mightiest Heroes, he shows up in that as well. Right. But he's often really closely aligned with Enchantress, who isn't at least announced in this movie.
Right.
Having him there, I don't know if he's going to be kind of working with or for Hela.
Right.
And if she's going to be portrayed kind of as Death. And death is an interesting concept because that's who Thanos is in love with.
Yeah.
So I don't know how well this is all going to tie into the whole Thanos story.
Right.
Because there's another character in here, which was one of my favorite announcements, was Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah.
Joining the MCU. So Jeff Goldblum, who last week I could not remember
You're
his name.
struggling there. Right? Who's that guy? What's his name? Right.
You know, the guy from Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
The
scientist.
Yeah, so funny enough, he's been added to this cast as the Grandmaster.
Yeah.
And the Grandmaster, again, is a really interesting character to be in the Thor world because it ties it even more so to Guardians. So at the end of Thor the Dark World, we had that really interesting kind of Guardians tie scene. And this, again, with Grandmaster, he's kind of one of these elders of the universe, which is really closely aligned with, or not aligned, but akin to the Collector.
Right.
And he's the one that's had interactions with Infinity Stone, so he kind of fits in that whole world of building this eventual end of Infinity War.
Right.
And he's signed on for multiple pictures. And again, he's kind of one of these guys that's in the background pulling strings, and he's kind of got this whole concept around of he likes pitting people against each other in different games to win different things. There's some concepts or ideas out there that he may be the one that's running the planet that we find Hulk on, this battle planet or whatever it's called, right?
Cool.
Planet Hulk, if you will.
Right.
And so there's ideas that maybe he's going to figure into that somehow, and he's what essentially brings Thor and Hulk together through this whole Planet Hulk. So they're kind of trying to like backdoor Planet Hulk into a Thor movie without having to do a full Thor or a full Hulk solo movie.
Right.
Which they don't own the rights to, anyways.
No,
Yeah,
so they can't do it.
They can't.
That's
Yeah.
right. It's Universal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're ever going to do a solo Hulk movie.
No.
So this is going to be the closest thing we're ever going to get to a Planet Hulk. But I'm a little disappointed because I was really hoping there's going to get a scene where we blast Hulk off into space and give a reason why he's going to show up. So I don't know if they're just going to be ignore it and just be like, oh, he actually did. Just flew off into space. I don't know how they're going to do that.
And I wonder if this is going to be basically taking place during the same time as Civil War, because obviously those two are missing during the events of that movie, right?
And that's referenced right in Civil War, which is
Yeah.
pretty cool. So it's nice to see that these characters are still being kind of talked about a bit. But
Exactly.
I'm super excited for this movie now, having this big cast. One disappointment is that Lady Sif and the Warriors 3 are still unconfirmed, because she's got some big commitments to this show she does called Blind Spot.
Right.
Whether or not she's going to show up actually in this for maybe just a cameo role, or whether they're just going to completely ignore her, because they're kind of teasing her earlier on as maybe the new love interest for Thor.
Right.
And again, I don't, like I said before, I don't like breaking down female characters to simply just a love interest.
Exactly.
And I think Valkyrie, and it's Tessa Thompson, she's a pretty good actress from Creed and that. And I think she's going to be a little bit more than that, but they have been teasing the concept, oh, maybe Thor needs a new love interest. I don't think they're, like, she's like a pretty badass. She's like kind of like this, like, we were talking about this yesterday, this first, like, Lady Thor sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
And she leads kind of the Valkyries. And so that's a pretty powerful group. So I'd like to see them develop her a bit more into more of a badass character, instead of, again, going down the road of, oh, Thor, please come save me.
Yeah, the dance of distress, right? Yeah, definitely.
She was one of my favorite characters in the Thor movies. Just not the main Thor character, obviously, but from the supporting cast, she, I think, was my favorite in there.
Yeah, she's solid, especially in part 2. I really liked her. She's pretty sweet, right?
Yeah, she has good fight scenes. She's got a real strong screen presence as well.
Yeah.
And the show, my wife and I watched it for a little bit, this Blind Spot. She's really good on it too.
Yeah.
Like, she can hold kind of the action beats, the dramatic beats as well.
Yeah.
So having her in, I was kind of excited for them to develop that more, because I've never been a fan of Natalie Portman in that universe.
No.
Because she always just looks like she's phoning it in.
Just phoning it in, yeah. What was it? Is Lexi Alexander? Is that her name that plays Lady Sif, I think?
Jamie Alexander.
Yeah, right. She would have been a cool Wonder Woman. It's just too bad that she's already in the...
Well, I think she was on Tapped for that originally.
That would be cool.
So I don't know if they have some weird like contract thing where if you're in a Marvel movie, you can never be in a DC movie.
Yeah. But if you're in a Fox movie, then they're more than likely to take you away.
Yeah.
Like Steve Rogers and Michael B. Jordan now, right?
Yeah.
From,
Steve Rogers.
well, Chris Evans.
Chris
Both
Evans.
Human Torches are now in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I guess.
True, and I guess what's his name? Ryan Reynolds was jumping back and forth.
That's true. Right. Yeah.
Even they cast out one woman in Civil War who confronted Tony Stark at the elevator. She's also cast in another MCU movie.
Yeah, she's
I can't
in
remember
Luke
which one it
Cage.
was.
Well,
Yeah, she's in Luke Cage.
Oh, yeah, Luke Cage.
She's in Luke Cage.
Yeah, so it's really weird that they have the same actress.
Yeah.
And I guess
They just didn't. The two production companies didn't talk to each other, and that's how that happened. I think.
Crazy.
that's
Wow.
that's going to be weird.
Yeah.
I think she does play such a minor role in Civil War,
Yeah.
but it was acknowledged quite late on. But it's probably after that they had filmed all the scenes. They're like, oh shit.
Yeah. Well, it was definitely after she was cast, and probably after they filmed. They're like,
Yeah, what do we do?
I guess this is happening.
And because she played that kind of that pivotal role for Tony Stark, like you needed someone pretty strong in there
for sure.
to hold it against. Oh man, that's going to be weird.
wow.
I remember reading that and being like, why the hell would they do this? Because I think she's going to be quite prominent in Luke Cage as well.
Yeah.
Like she has
I'd imagine so.
I agree.
a larger role in Luke Cage.
Yeah.
So that's weird.
They just made a mistake, and I mean, in the scheme of things, whatever.
Yeah. People are like continuity people. Like, I really love the continuity, but I'm not gonna. It's not like they cast Chris Hemsworth in two different roles.
Yeah.
It's like he's Thor and he's also someone else.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Whatever. So Star Wars news.
Yes.
We talk Star Wars in like a whole week.
Yeah. Jeez.
Oh man.
So the episode 8 title was potentially leaked. I'd call it spoilers here for any of this. We're not going to go too deep into it. And again, it's just the title. But if you're trying to wait off until you go to Celebration to have the full reveal and have that full experience, maybe just jump ahead 5 minutes or so. But this title card, which looks like it's going to be called Star Wars: The Fall of the Resistance. Yeah. Thoughts on that?
At first I liked it a little bit, but now I'm kind of like, kind of want something a little more powerful.
Yeah,
it's a little better than that. But like we were saying before, it's kind of reminiscent of Empire Strikes Back. It kind of goes, hand in hand with that, which is okay. What do you guys think about it?
When I first saw The Force Awakens, my initial reaction was like, it's fine.
Yeah.
And I imagine that's the same reaction I would have had to Empire Strikes Back, if I had seen it for the first time in 1979 or whatever it was, or 1980 when it actually dropped. And this, have the same feeling, because I love the title Force Awakens now. I think it's amazing.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And, Fall of the Resistance, I think it's one of these things that'll grow on you.
Yeah, probably.
Because there's a couple of the titles that were tossed out there. There's Order of the Dark Side.
Yeah.
The Tale of the Jedi Temple, which sounds very Indiana Jones-esque. I've always been kind of partial of Shadows of the Empire. I think would have been.
I love that because there's a game on the Nintendo 64 back in the day. You guys ever play that one? It was awesome. Dash Rendar.
Yeah.
Give me that. Because I heard those rumors. They're actually thinking about calling Force Awakens Shadows of the Empire.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So.
And I also liked Heir to the Empire, which is the first book in the Thrawn trilogy. Kind of this kind of idea of hinting towards the Empire kind of coming back into the things, and this I like the Shadows of the Empire. It's like it's kind of coming back over the area, because once we've blown up now the Resistance government or the New Republic government and all that.
Right.
So I thought it was interesting, but Fall of the Resistance I can get on board with. Again, this might be just someone just photoshopped something up and just thrown it out there for people to go nuts over for the next month.
Because that's Celebration in July with Batman vs Superman. You guys see that when they made it down to 2 parts? And they had Dawn of Justice and then Night of something. Yeah. And everybody thought they were going to do 2 movies and they had different titles, but it's just a Photoshop thing, right? So.
And then they still landed on Dawn of Justice. So we're going to have to wait another couple of months to get the official release. I'm assuming they're going to do it at Celebration Europe, which they usually live stream everything. They did that last year. So I spent a good chunk of time at work. Hopefully no one from work listens to this, watching Celebration Europe live, streaming on my computer. And I plan to do the same thing this year. So it'll be cool to see that reveal. Also with Star Wars, there's a massive leak of Rogue One concept art.
Yes.
Don't know if this is real. Lucasfilm hasn't really commented on it. People are saying it's fake. It looks pretty legit to me. And it was basically this concept art book, or the art of Rogue One, that is dropping, I think, a month after. So it's sometime in January after the release of Rogue One.
Cool.
And it had some big splash pages, and it had all the character names on it, and it had a very prominent figure in one of the splash pages, and that was Darth Vader.
My dude.
So he's looking very reminiscent of the Vader we saw in A New Hope.
Yeah.
And we get a hint towards who this man in the white is. So he's a director for the Empire, or a director for the Empire, not Thrawn.
Right, not an admiral.
Not an admiral. So it's interesting that they do have this man in white, this white-clad man, and he's not something bigger. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops through. And I'm pretty excited now. You're starting to get a little more information here. We're starting to see different stormtroopers as well. There's a white stormtrooper that look more like the Death Troopers. So we're getting an introduction of numerous different stormtroopers.
Right, which is really cool, because I'm hoping, no spoilers, but reading Lost Stars, there's a very important main character. Well, they're a big-time character. They're a big deal. And basically, I'm curious to wonder if she is going to be making her debut in this film without giving things away. So all I can say is Death Troopers, Black Stormtroopers. I don't know. We'll see. So the other rumor I heard, too, is in that trailer, there's a chamber that we all see with the 2 Imperial Guards. Is it Imperial Guards?
Yeah.
Right, and we see someone kneeling. Rumor has it that that's Vader in that chamber, and that would lead to the reason why his fighting style is a lot different in A New Hope. So he's kind of been weakened.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the rumor. I don't know if this is true, but that would kind of make sense, because when you watch Vader fight Obi-Wan at the end of New Hope, the fighting's a lot different than watching him in Rebels.
So you're thinking that maybe he was injured?
Exactly.
Coming out of Rogue One and into A New Hope.
Exactly.
So there's some interesting.
Yeah.
Or that maybe they play through the time that a lot of what's the book called that you keep talking about?
Lords of the Sith.
Yeah, so with Lords of the Sith, maybe he going through that, and it just kind of develops that he's been battling Jedi, battling the Rebels, and battling the resistant planets within kind of the galaxy for so long that he's just kind of beaten down. He's more, like they refer to, he's more machine than man.
Exactly,
now, right?
That's a good point. Yeah.
So maybe at that, Obi-Wan did slice off his legs and his other arm.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah,
But-
big time machine there. So it'll be interesting to see if that's even the case. If that is him in the chamber, we'll see. Because watching Rebels, his fighting is incredible. He's just taking out Jedis like no problem.
It's so quick, and that's just an evolution of the choreography.
Yeah.
But I guess they do have to play into that
No,
as
they do.
for why he's so slow. But he does pick it up towards Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi.
So maybe
as
it's
well.
just a matter of him learning how to use his new suit. I don't know.
Yeah, the Iron Lung.
Yeah.
So before we move on to Star Wars, I just have to talk quickly about that euphoric feeling you get when you find stuff collecting.
Yeah.
So this past week, I had two big time moments. I was on ToysRUs.ca, browsing it as work, as a 30-year-old man does, looking at the toy section,
Perfect.
and I stumbled across Luke and Ahsoka 6-inch Black Series.
Nice.
So I immediately put those in a cart, paid for them, and then they were sold out. So I found that one really minor window as to where they're available and they're not available. So those are the two that if you're looking for them. So we're at the expo, they're going for $70 a piece. I got these retail $25 a piece. Again, wait for these. Do not pay $70, $100 online for these. These will come to your stores.
Yeah.
Kaden looks like the one that's going to be peg warming, so it's probably going to be there for a while because it's still available and it's always been available on ToysRUs.ca. So I'm assuming it's going to show up at some point as well.
Sweet. Is it free shipping too? With
Over $50.
Okay, so that's not
So
bad.
I threw an extra Rebel Trooper in there.
Yeah, of course.
Got me up and over the mark.
I only have to spend $15 more to get a $10 free shipping.
Hey, I needed them. I've never seen them in retail. Just don't tell my wife. It's a justification. It's like something's on sale, and I really have to buy that because it's on sale. Well, no, you really don't, because you don't have to spend that $25. But it's on sale for $10 off.
Yeah.
So you're not saving $10, you're spending $25. But sometimes when it comes to action figures, you don't really think about that. And the second one, I walked into the Disney store today with my daughter this time. She's very young, so she doesn't understand. I'm just like, come in here. And I'm looking through the Elite Series figures, the 6-inch Elite Series, and I stumbled across an R2 and a C-3PO. Did not know they were coming. Because originally, the C-3PO and R2 in this series came in a giant con exclusive. And they said they were never going to release the R2 and the C-3PO.
Right.
And I looked at these things, I'm like, what the hell? I had no idea these were coming out. So I grabbed, there's 5 of them. I grabbed all 5.
Yeah.
I didn't buy all 5. I put them on the shelf and I picked the best box out.
Nice.
But I got him home, and we were just looking at this before we started the podcast.
Yeah.
The C-3PO's paint app on his arm, so he's got the red arm from Force Awakens.
Yeah.
It is horrendous.
Yeah, it's like red wax.
Yeah. It looks like someone just took the C-3PO, turned him sideways, and just dunked his arm into a glob of red paint and pulled it up. It's horrendous.
Yeah.
But it looks good in the box.
Yeah.
And the R2 looks really cool, too. It's got a nice wash on it. So I think what they've done is they've made them look a little more worn from what they were in the original set. So I think the original set, the big box set that had all the original trilogy, the prequel trilogy, and then an R2 to C-3PO, they were the, New Hope or Empire Strikes Back C-3PO and R2-D2. And then they've just released these as the Force Awakens ones.
Yeah.
So these are going to be coming back as a regular stocked item. So people who are looking for these, if they do sell out, do not go and pay $100 online for an R2 because they're going to be coming back. Because you go now, you can get any of the Force Awakens characters. They're always in stock. The Phasmas, whatever you want, they're always there. So don't run out and pay a ton of money for these. Yeah. These will come back to your stores.
Yeah. Definitely.
But when I did see them, I did freak out a little bit inside.
Well, yeah, it's like even I was at Walmart the other day and I saw like a whole bunch of Force Awakens Black Series figures going on right now. You know, there's the Finn and the Stormtrooper suit, and there's a bunch of Captain Phasmas, and a lot of old Hans. Yeah.
So we were freaking out like a month or two ago about these, being like, "Oh my god, we got all these!" And like we found a wave at Toys R Us, and I grabbed them all, and I'm calling Troy. I'm like, "I got them all. We're never gonna see these again." And now they're just stacked like 10
all
deep
over
each.
The place. Yeah, jeez.
So last week we talked quite a bit about summer blockbusters and summer movies, and Ghostbusters and Star Trek were two of the ones that we brought up that trailers had really hampered their reception in the fan world, in the movie-going world. So they released 2 more trailers. Each got a second trailer this past week. Ghostbusters.
Brutal. My thoughts is brutal. I didn't like it at all. I think it's actually worse than the last trailer.
Oh, really?
If that's even possible. Yeah, I mean, the last trailer was confusing because, it says like 30 years after the original Ghostbusters, yada yada, but it's a clean reboot, right?
Yeah.
But this one here was just horrible. The jokes, I didn't laugh once. The only thing I thought was funny in the last trailer was Kate McKinnon, but they cut her. She's not even in this trailer. She's in the trailer, but she has 0 lines. It's just brutal. Chris Hemsworth was whatever. And the CGI looked a little off too. Some of the special effects, the slowdown shots is horrible.
I don't know if they're trying to make it look like a Ghostbusters movie that was made in the 80s.
Yeah.
Because when you look at the CGI, I feel like I'm on a Disney ride in Disneyland. You know that Haunted Mansion ride where they use all the holograms and the light and all that?
Oh, yeah.
It looks like one of those. Not like something that they've spent $100 million on to make all the CGI work.
No.
People are really dumping on this, ourselves included.
Yeah.
Because it seems very derivative of the original. We've got Slimer.
Yeah.
Stay Puft Marshmallow Man's in it. You've got a character in Chris Hemsworth who really wants to be a Ghostbuster, who's not actually a Ghostbuster, who then becomes possessed by some sort of spirit, and then seems to go on some sort of rampage. We've got whatever the villain is making some sort of machine that enhances or stirs up paranormal activity. Right. Like, this is the first movie all over again. And I was really, really excited about this movie because of the nostalgia feeling that I'm still going to go see this.
Right.
But when I look at it, I'm hoping that because it's getting so dumped on that it's actually pretty funny, and the people who can't cut trailers have done a really poor job. But I'm always the guy that says, if you can't show me 2 good minutes of a movie that's an hour and a half long, what the hell am I going to see in the movie theater?
Exactly.
That's where we go kind of on the flip side here to the Star Trek trailer. So that was a movie...
60.
Exactly. Yeah. That was a movie that when you looked at the first trailer, that was the Beastie Boys soundtrack, made it look like Guardians of the Galaxy in a universe or in a world that did not need to look like that. It had its own kind of set tone, its own feeling, and it kind of totally diverted away from that.
Yeah.
What did you think of the second trailer?
I loved it. Like, I'm totally sold on this now. I'm definitely going to go out there and see this. I've been a big fan of the last 2 movies. And this one looks pretty cool. The tone was nice. It's like a little bit more of a serious tone. It looks like they're exploring too a lot more in this one, as opposed to just like this action-based movie.
It feels like it's in the same universe as 1 and 2.
Yes.
As opposed to the original trilogy, which made it feel like something completely different.
It's weird. It's like you said, it's like a Guardians knockoff. Yeah.
And this thing seems to have stakes to it a bit more. Because I don't know Star Trek at all. I don't know if the villain, who's played by Idris Elba, is some significant villain in the Star Trek universe. Right. Or if it's something new. I'm assuming they're pulling from some sort of original kind of villain or original race or something.
I'd imagine so, yeah.
That's in the old timeline.
Yeah.
But
looks cool. Kind of reminds me of Mass Effect. I don't know if you guys have played the Mass Effect video games, but it kind of reminds me of the Mass Effect universe out there. But it looks pretty cool.
I got a little bit of a episode 3 vibe from it, in the sense that when you're in space or you're kind of near surface or in the atmosphere, the whole frame is filled with CGI. Like, there's just ships and stuff everywhere flying at you. Everything's moving. And you got so much detail on the littlest things that are just on the top corner of the screen. Yeah. It just feels very full.
Right, green screen.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how the first battle in episode 3 felt. It was just like stuff going on everywhere. Yeah. And you're kind of like, I don't know where to focus.
Going back to Ghostbusters, are you guys familiar with the old cartoon, not the original, but Extreme Ghostbusters?
Yeah.
No.
Like the mid-90s? Yeah. That was a sweet cartoon. I wish this movie went that direction. You know, it's pretty diverse. You even had a paraplegic. You had like a couple women. You had the leader from the original, the guy with the glasses, the blonde hair. Yeah, but it'd be cool if they went that route. You know, it's still kind of bridged the gap from the first 2 to current time, 2016.
Yeah, instead of having that whole... I don't know why they went the way they did.
Yeah.
They're trying to capture on something with Paul Feig, this cast of women who are all quite funny in their own right.
Definitely.
And I think they're just trying to capture something in the moment, and it came maybe a couple years too late.
That's exactly.
You know, people are maybe wearing a bit thin on the Melissa McCarthy act, although her movies do quite well, and her last couple have been quite funny.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see. It could just be the old Ghostbusters with women.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And it could just be a movie.
Yeah.
You know? Because people, like, some of the like old school fans are freaking out about this. Like, there's even like the whole boycott Ghostbusters.
Yeah. With this trailer, I'm surprised they didn't show any of the original cast, like Bill Murray, because I heard they have cameos in this movie.
Oh, do they?
Oh, really?
Yeah, I heard Bill Murray has some kind of cameo, so I would have thought they would have thrown.
Maybe?
I'm sure Dan Aykroyd must be in there because he's been trying to push for Ghostbusters 3 since Ghostbusters 2 came out.
Do you think they'll be cameoing as their characters, or cameoing as like a guy sitting on a bench being like, "Hey, Ghostbusters in New York,
get your hot dogs."
Yeah.
Like a Stan Lee cameo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely.
We also had the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 3 finale aired this past week. I hadn't been keeping up with it. I had maybe was about 5 or 6 episodes behind. So I binge watched through this entire thing. And the season finale is 2 hours long. So I committed quite a bit of time over the last few days to watching this. And I felt it really benefited from binge watching through this. And this was really good. Like this is one of the best seasons, if not the best season, that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has had.
I would say definitely, of the 3 that we've seen so far, this is the best season.
Yeah, and it weighs quite heavily on this Inhumans storyline. Mm-hmm. And the introduction really of the Inhumans and the development of a series of different Inhumans, as well as these splinter cells of having we have the introduction of Hive, which is a really, really cool character, which we actually get to see in full form in the season finale.
Cool.
And they kind of saved their powder on that and used all the money, it seems, to develop that, because they've done some CGI that wasn't really that great, and they refused to show through the whole back half of the season actually Hive. He's got kind of this tentacle looking head. Yeah. And they did do kind of a back view of him, but they didn't show his front face until one scene in the scene's finale, and it looked really, really good. It looked like movie screen quality. Well, maybe not that much, but it was much, much better than I was expecting. Nice. I was like, they're not going to really show his face because they're like, we just can't do this. We don't have the money. Mm-hmm. And it looked really good.
They only did it for a few seconds.
Yeah.
It was there. You saw him.
Yeah, exactly. And so we'll just say spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen it or is waiting to see it or whatever. But they had a really cool Civil War tie-in.
Nice, that's what I was going to ask you guys.
Yeah, so it seemed to have more of this integrating into the event rather than reacting to. When they did the Thor the Dark World tie-in, it was like they went to London and were like, "Oh, darn you, Thor. We have to clean up this area in London because you smashed to pieces when you're fighting a dark elf." This one was much less of, because I was like, they're going to do time where like, they got to go clean up at the airport or whatever.
So on the nose.
We have to go to Germany and investigate this or whatever. But this was more, again, like the Winter Soldier, was more integrating into the event and kind of spurring off and what the event did for the show, as opposed to that exact thing where they're just kind of reacting to it. So they had this General Talbot, whose presence is in the comics, and he's coming in and saying, well, we have to enforce this Sokovia Accords on whatever you have down here, Phil Coulson, on your enhanced, show me your enhanced people. And they go through the process of putting the Inhumans on a list.
Oh, okay.
Which is kind of a cool concept, because it weighs both into the X-Men universe as well as into the overall Marvel Cinematic Universe as it goes with the Registration Act. Yeah. And so they kind of developed that really nicely and integrate it into the actual show as opposed to something different.
Right. and I think one of the great lines from the finale, one of the finale episodes, was when General Talbot came in and said, we need a list of all your Inhumans. The Avengers are supporting this. And Coulson came back with, well, not quite all of them.
Yeah.
Oh, no way. Awesome. That's cool.
Yeah, and Coulson seems very much on the side of Team Cap.
Of course, he's a big fan. That's so cool. And this show, does it take place in Washington, or where does it take place?
I don't really know.
It's
some secret SSR base.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so it must be close to Washington, because Talbot does refer to the idea that this base has been under his nose the entire time. So I'm assuming he's stationed as a brigadier general somewhere in Washington.
Right.
Yeah. So it was set up, as Tim said, under the SSR. So it doesn't even have the shield logos. It's got SSR all over the place.
Cool. Yeah. And with this show now, is there potential for more Inhumans? Would you guys like to see a spin-off of the Inhumans rather than a movie?
Not.
Or...
So that's an interesting point, because I felt that with this storyline, they really developed Inhumans, but then they really concluded a lot of it by the end of this episode or end of this season. So it'd be interesting to see how far they go. So there's some leftover Inhumans, but they really wrapped up kind of the big Inhuman threat that was Hive. Right. And most of the other Inhumans, like Lash and a few of the others, were killed off. So there's not many of the Inhumans left on the show. Now, doesn't take much for them to introduce a new Inhuman, right? It's just a Terrigen crystal. Or they had this thing where they were eating fish oil pills, and that was where the Terrigen was kind of mixed in from the end of season 2. Right. And that was the big tease from the end of season 2, was all the Inhumans are coming. And so they've concluded a lot of that storyline. So that's one thing that it did really well, was it kind of tied up a lot of the loose ends. Mm-hmm. And one thing that they did learn from particularly season 1 was this rapid pace, not drawing out these humongous long arcs and kind of just having 5 filler episodes and one on the other side, and then actually wrapping up the arc. So introducing the arc, having 5 episodes, and then wrapping it up. This was one on top of another, that you're getting revelations and conclusions as you go. And this wrapped up some of the larger overarching story arcs.
Nice.
So yeah, it was a really well done season finale.
Nice.
If you haven't checked it out, I'd recommend going, particularly the people that like the MCU, although it's not perfectly integrated. Mm-hmm. I think it's, for a TV show, it's the most well integrated out of all of them, if you're including the Netflix series, have kind of just one-off. And the Netflix series don't seem to be built around the referencing the MCU so much as this actually is.
They stand on their own legs, kind of.
This is kind of spins out and weighs a little bit and kind of uses the MCU a bit of a crutch sometimes to bring people in. But I'd say over this season in particular, they've kind of lost that crutch and kind of ran their own way with Inhumans storyline. So I'm wondering if at the top level, they've said, with the whole Inhumans being kind of punted from the MCU slate, if they've said, you know, you guys just run with it and do your thing. Yeah. And if we kind of like this later on, maybe we'll bring it all and wrap it up into a movie or something.
Right.
But I think for now, they're going to let this kind of ride in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Because at the end here, they teased a few things for season 4.
Nice.
So they kind of do this flash forward 6 months in the future. They're chasing Daisy Johnson, who's kind of gone rogue because she blames herself for a whole bunch of stuff that happens throughout kind of this controlled by Hive and all this. And she's developing her powers. But Coulson refers to the idea that we have to call the director. So Coulson was put in place at some point during the season as the director of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, okay.
So that might have even been at the end of the second season.
Okay.
And so when Nick Fury pissed off, Agent Coulson became Director Coulson and is running kind of this small, more Black Ops like S.H.I.E.L.D.
And they do mention that even the Avengers don't know that S.H.I.E.L.D.'s been restarted yet. So it's like S.H.I.E.L.D.'s really small and it's just Inhumans and it's really...
Yeah. Cool. And they could have this like core group of people. And Talbot makes reference in the season finale too of let's re-legitimize S.H.I.E.L.D., let's bring you back into the light from the shadows. And Coulson's like, not. I don't think the movies will take to that too well.
And what about Maria Hill? Any talks with her character? Or?
So that's one of the things I wanted to put out there was this idea of there's a new director of S.H.I.E.L.D. Who could it be? Is it going to be General Talbot? Is it going to be Mariana Hill, who didn't appear in Civil War, who did have some ties to S.H.I.E.L.D. still, whatever rogue S.H.I.E.L.D. Body that Sam Jackson or Nick Fury is running. And so I'm curious if they're going to bring her in. She's not a big movie star. She's more of a TV star. Exactly. It would make sense for her to come into this. This would integrate the movies a bit more because she's been popping in and out and more cameo roles in the movies. Yeah. So it would be kind of cool if they brought her on or if they're going to do something totally different because Daisy Johnson was director of S.H.I.E.L.D. at one point too. I don't think they're going to go that direction. That's not what Coulson's directly referring to, but that's another direction they could potentially go. Okay.
Cool.
And then they also teased, so they had this Dr. Radcliffe, who is a very, very, very minor character in the Marvel Comics, and he was doing a lot of bioengineering, or not so much genetics, but more mechanical engineering of people, so enhancing people through using kind of technology. And at the end there, they start to refer to the idea, they just have it on there, LMD, so it's life model decoys. So it looks like they're going to be introducing life model decoys into the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. universe. So it looks like maybe season 4 is going to be more of this androids type villains. And so it looks like they've shifted a bit away from the Inhumans. They've wrapped that storyline up for now. And so this stuff, Daisy Johnson, who's still an Inhuman, I'm sure. And there's a couple villains. Hellfire, which is a really cool villain that they introduced. The guy was always like, he has this chain he's always got on fire or whatever. It's kind of really like Ghost Rider kind of. Yeah. But Inhumans. And that was, to me, what Inhumans are. Because we're going to be talking a lot about mutants later on. Yeah. And Inhumans in the MCU universe, at least to me, are just kind of these poor man's mutants.
Absolutely.
It's like we need a person that can run really fast. It's not Quicksilver, so we're just going to have this person. We need a guy that can light stuff on fire, so we're just going to have this person. Like they're not really these. They may be established in humans somewhere, but I've never really took them that seriously because I'm always attaching like the guy that can do fire stuff is Pyro, and and you have Quicksilver for running and all that. So all in all, good season finale.
Awesome.
And I'd recommend going and checking it out. And I've always said start at the Winter Soldier tie-in.
Nice.
You don't need to really go back because season 1 is at some points very, very hard to watch.
Well, if I lose another appendix, be sure to do it inside joke.
That's the only reason he was able to finish Clone Wars. Like an organ ripped out of him. All right, guys. So this week, this Thursday or Friday, whatever we choose to go see it, we're getting the 3rd installment of the rebooted prequel, sequel, sort of.
Reboot.
Yeah.
Soft reboot. I like that. I like that. Soft reboot.
Accidental sequel, prequel. That is X-Men Apocalypse.
Yeah.
So, like I said before, I'm pretty excited about this now. Pretty stoked. Yeah. So we're here to talk about X-Men and Apocalypse in the comics. So similar to what we did with the Civil War comics event review that we did. We're going to talk through here some of the more important stories relating to Apocalypse and then some of the X-Men that we're going to see in the movie. So we're having the reintroduction of X-Men like Cyclops, Jean Grey, Nightcrawler, back into the X film universe, which is pretty exciting to see some of these characters coming back. I know you've done a ton of reading. What particular stories have you read, Elliot? And we'll get into kind of a bit more details.
Yeah, I read the original Age of Apocalypse series when it came out in the 90s.
Yeah.
So, I went and bought all the comics when it came out. Of course, I didn't buy the individual ones. I mean, I was 13 or 15 or whatever I was. So I bought the 4-in-1s and all the surrounding timeline storybooks that I could. And yeah, I read through the Age of Apocalypse when it came out. And I mean, it's interesting to note that when it did come out in the 90s, it was set 20 years ahead of that. Mm-hmm. So it's actually right now. It's
cool.
set
That's
right
so
about
cool.
now.
Yeah.
Of course, the movie that's coming out is set in the 80s, so it's set 10 years before. But that's just an interesting footnote for you.
Yeah, that's cool. So, Troy, have you done any X-Men reading beyond kind of the more recent stuff?
Yeah, well, I was a big fan of the all-new X-Men, the Michael Bendis run. I got into that, and then a little bit with the new Apocalypse War that's going on.
Yeah.
And, they kind of brought back Apocalypse, because he's, younger.
Yeah,
right?
The cloned...
Yeah, they cloned him, and then I kind of tried to go back to, Apocalypse in 86 with the X-Factor. I think that's when he was first introduced. We took on, the original X-Men team, but in X-Factor. But Apocalypse, basically just Age of Apocalypse, that's all I'm really familiar with, and the awesome 90s Fox Kids cartoon.
Oh, yeah.
That's my Apocalypse right there.
I think that's where a lot of people that weren't reading comics, and myself included, were first introduced to Apocalypse. At least his look and what he is to the X-Men. That's kind of one of the main villains. So I akin him a lot to a Thanos for the X-Men universe.
Yeah, Darkseid, Thanos, yeah, exactly.
So he's kind of the big bad beyond kind of your Magneto, which seems to be kind of the constant thorn in the side of the X-Men, but he is kind of the big villain.
Yeah.
And so reading through a lot of this stuff, like I said before, I haven't read really anything X-Men, with the exception of the all-new X-Men that came out a couple of years ago, and the 90s cartoon is where all my familiarity of the individual characters comes from. But having gone back here, so he was first introduced in X-Factor number 5. So
yes, X-Factor, sorry, that's what it was.
Yeah, 1986.
86, yeah.
So his history goes quite a bit ways back. They really revamped his origins about 10 years later. So they did this Rise of Apocalypse storyline where they introduced a lot of the concepts that we're going to see in the movie, particularly him being born in ancient Egypt.
Yeah.
And having this name that I really do not want to pronounce.
Yeah.
En Sabanur.
Yes!
Nice. I was staying away from that
En
one.
Sabanur. So that's
Nice.
what's being chanted, I think, at the end of Days of Future Past.
So cool.
It is.
So Days of Future Past has that end credit scene where we see the little blue kid, and all the people chanting, and then you see in the background the Four Horsemen.
Yeah.
Which again, another big part of Apocalypse. Let's talk a bit about the look of Apocalypse. So that was something that was introduced very early on in the original books that featured Apocalypse. And he was just kind of very large, very imposing, gray with big blue lips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think they've captured this comic book look and translated it from kind of the comic books that you were very familiar with and adapted that very well onto screen from the trailers that we've seen?
Me personally, not so much. He looked like everyone says it, the Power Rangers villain, Ivan Ooze.
Yeah.
At least he used to. He is purple when they had him in the first, I think it was the Comic-Con introduction when we saw him. He looked kind of purple, and he is short. He looked shorter than a lot of the other cast members, which is weird. I like Apocalypse to be kind of like a Thanos, big, the wires coming out of his neck and stuff like that. That's the Apocalypse I like, at least. But I get Bryan Singer. This universe seems a little more grounded and not so superhero-like. It's not so Marvel Universe. So I can see why they kind of made him look the way he does.
They made him more human-sized and more humanoid.
Exactly. Perfect humanoid, yeah.
And I mean, I'm not even sure if he has the capability to grow in the movie or not. Because when he does grow in the trailer, I'm pretty sure Xavier's walking.
Yeah.
So it seems like that's more of, something in his head that they're maybe fighting in their minds at that point. So I'll be interested to see how they do portray that.
Yeah, you like his look? I'm curious because you're a big X-Men guy. You like the look for the movies?
I mean, it's definitely different.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I don't really care that much. They made him blue, and like we said, they made him more of a humanoid shape, as opposed to this big imposing figure with wires and everything coming out of him, and a big giant A on his belt buckle. So
very 80s.
Yeah.
Just missing the shoulder pads.
Yeah. So his name, which I'm not going to say again. Can you say that again? How do you say it?
Ensabanur.
Ensabanur.
Yeah.
I can only say it after I'm repeating it. So apparently it translates to the first one.
Yes.
But only in Marvel's mind. I think the true Arabic translation, from what I could dig up on the internet, is actually the morning light.
Interesting.
So I'm not sure how much actual research they did as far as the direct translation of this from Arabic. But the concept that they were trying to get at was that he's essentially the first mutant, the first one born with the X gene. Mm-hmm. And I think that's, clearly that's the way they're going with this. But being the first mutant born with the X gene, it's not really follows this main evolutionary path where you kind of he has maybe a little deformity or whatever, or something different. He gets all of the powers. Like he can shapeshift. He has like the superhuman strength. He has psychic abilities.
Teleport.
Yeah, he can do everything. Yeah. Which is interesting. And something that they're going to have to really work hard at as far as grounding this character, where he just doesn't blow everything up. Yeah. And it's the same thing. I don't know how they're going to do it, because they have to do a very similar thing that they do with Professor X all the time. They have to somehow incapacitate him so he just doesn't shut down every single mutant.
Right.
And why doesn't Apocalypse just come in and just destroy every single mutant, right? Mm-hmm. Is he going to have some sort of fatal flaw? Like Thanos, for an example, has this kind of weird fatal flaw where he doesn't think that he deserves to win, and so he's always doubting himself. And so this is kind of it's kind of really weird that you'd have that as like this main big bad villain that just wants to kill people, but he's always trying to prove something. Yeah. And I don't know if they're going to go that route with him, but I don't know how they're going to explain why he just doesn't come in and blow everything up. Mm-hmm. Unless they do something where he's like very weakened when he first wakes up, and maybe it takes time for him to roll through and kind of generate the power that needs to fight, say, a Professor X or whatever.
Right.
That kind of initial rise of Apocalypse that was made, or that was written in 1996, it's something to go back to, because that was one of the two things I went back to for this, just rereading his origins, and they're going to pull a lot from that, I think.
I'd imagine so. It's interesting too, because I think he also gets his powers from like the Celestials, the aliens, as well, right? So it's not just all based off his mutant ability. He also
and there's a ton of complex history when it comes to Apocalypse, and a lot of it dates. You go back 5,000 years, and then he periodically wakes up from time to time, essentially it's him trying to figure out a time where he can wake up and take over the world, but with a whole bunch of mutants present. The question I always had about Apocalypse was, why doesn't he just take over 5,000 years ago and just run?
I mean, I think to me, that's always been a question about his motivation, and like you said, and I just kind of, my feeling about it is that it's all about conquering, and it's not necessarily about having the Earth. It's about conquering the Earth specifically. So he really wants to prove himself, and he wants to prove that he's the biggest and the baddest. And to do that, he can't just come in and wipe everybody out, or, I mean, maybe he could, but he really wants to come in and start a fight and pick a fight. And, he seems a little bit just like he needs to prove himself. Yeah,
and it's because he's always had this kind of survival of the fittest, this very Darwinistic approach to fighting. And again, he wants to conquer, but he wants to conquer with mutants. He wants to see the superior mutant gene excel through and basically disseminate throughout the globe and have them as the people he's ruling, not just the humans.
And survival of the fittest was a big theme in the Age of Apocalypse comic books. Yeah. And really, if someone killed one of the Four Horsemen, then that's just it. You were just dead because you were too weak. Right. And the Four Horsemen did actually change quite a bit because people just got killed, and it was actually quite bloody in the comics, and it was great. I mean, reading it now, I was thinking about what I must have been thinking when I was younger, a young teenager. But
so the Four Horsemen are again another group or whatever that's always with Apocalypse. So we see them in the end credits scene, and there's something that I think they're very biblical in origin, right? So you kind of have these, so it's death, famine, pestilence, and
war.
War. I don't know if they're more his bodyguards or there's agents, maybe more lieutenants that he sends out to do certain tasks or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I'd put a mix of his lieutenants and his agents, really, just people he orders around to do his bidding.
Yeah, so they're usually enhanced and endowed with kind of these new abilities that he's given them as well.
Yeah, and that's where we're going to see Angel, for instance, turn into Archangel, and he gets his metal wings from Apocalypse. Who, if you watch the cartoon, he was the first Horseman, really, that Apocalypse created, and turned him into Archangel or Death.
Yeah, so that was straight out of the comic books too. There's a storyline called Fall of the Mutants.
Yeah.
And I think Wolverine at one point was death as well. Wasn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah. So that was
cool.
that was another cool one to see. And I don't think we're gonna get that in the movie.
No.
That would be badass if
No.
all of a sudden we
I have a
like,
feeling Wolverine's going to be like out of the Weapon X project, so he's not even going to be like a normal Wolverine. He's going to be in like Berserker mode, where
Yeah.
he's just there, just kind of like clawing up the place.
just destroying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So, do you think that in the movie that we're going to have an angel and then he's transformed by Apocalypse, or do you think it's going to be less of that and more of just he's Archangel to start with?
I hope we see him transformed.
Yeah.
I think that, I mean, that to me is really the start of kind of Apocalypse bringing his reign, and proving exactly what he's doing and what he wants to do and how he's going to control his Four Horsemen.
Yeah.
Is that transformation?
Yeah, but for that to be impactful, you'd have to assume that he has some sort of relationship with the X-Men already. Because that was a big reveal in the comic book, was because he had such a relationship working with the X-Men essentially since their conception,
right.
and then they thought he was dead, and then all of a sudden he's Archangel, and it's like, holy crap, here he is.
Yeah.
And I think for that to have the same weight behind it, he's got to have at least some interaction early on with the X-Men, because the feeling I get from the trailers is that he finds Archangel or Angel,
yeah.
and then just changes him and makes him kind of whatever he eventually becomes in the movie.
Yeah, I think
Archangel.
so. I think he's going to have this kind of like mind control almost. If you have you, I don't think he's going to like persuade them to join him. I think he's just going to kind of mind wipe them, because it's a lot of time it takes the movie to explain how he persuades. Was it Storm? I think
Storm, Magneto, and Psylocke.
And Psylocke. So that took a lot of time. I think he's just going to kind of
I agree.
mind trick them.
It's going to be a brainwash.
Yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't think that like Magneto and Storm and Psylocke and Angel or Archangel would turn against their fellow mutants and try and destroy the world.
Yeah, exactly. Especially Magneto, he's pretty strong-willed. I don't see him just joining for the sake of it. So
yeah, and he, Magneto, he's always been about Homo superior as above Homo sapien, and not specifically destroying the world, but just creating a safe place where mutants kind of.
But he's always had the survival of the fittest sort of thing, like the superiority of the gene, of the X gene.
kind of. That's the weird thing, though, because when you go back to X1 and 2, he's kind of like what you described. But when you go to X3, Magneto's very cutthroat. Like, I think Mystique loses her powers, and he's just like, the hell with you. Whereas, like, if you go back 2 films, he would have never done something like that, right?
And he seems very like I'm curious if they're going to be taking the mutants that end up in the Four Horsemen as they're in very low spots and looking for guidance, because it looks like from the trailers and that Magneto is kind of a broken human, right? He kind of just took off at the end of Days of Future Past. He kind of more or less admitted defeat. Xavier didn't shut him down. He kind of just left. And we had Mystique turn on him, essentially, which was, I think, a big pivotal point for this whole series. Integrating Storm, who we haven't seen before. So there's going to be a lot of character building very, very quickly. Yeah. And I think, and maybe not so much for Psylocke and Archangel, but I think to have that impact of, like, here are your Four Horsemen, Magneto's going to be the one where maybe it's the shock value that you got in the comics from Angel turning to Archangel is, why is Magneto on that side? But again, he's always seen as a villain. Yeah. So to the normal movie-going crowd, is it going to be as shocking to see him as part of the Four Horsemen? And are we going to see more of a rotating Four Horsemen? Probably not in this movie. But like you said, Elliot, that's a big theme going through a lot of this, is that they're changing constantly.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I really, really liked about in some of the comics I've read is that you never know and having Wolverine as one of the Horsemen is really cool too. Yeah. I think Psylocke's gonna be really cool in this as one of the Horsemen members.
So excited to see her.
Oh, she's great right out of the comics too. Her costume.
Yeah.
Oh man, I can't wait to see.
Yet, if anything in this universe that they've established so far, hers looks like it's like it looks like a statue or something, right? Like she's got, like the high cut like thigh things or whatever. Like it's like
I was listening to her talk about her costume and the actress's name,
Olivia Munn.
Olivia Munn. Yeah. I think she was the driving force behind making it more comic book, or exactly comic book like, and she was saying how she had to struggle into that costume because it was so tight.
Like, I don't even know how you move and not have stuff slip kind of down low.
Yeah,
there
There's a cool video of her and Ryan Reynolds doing some swordplay, right? That's sweet.
Well, because that was when they released that right before Deadpool dropped. Everyone was like, oh my god, they're setting up X-Force, it's going to happen.
It's a shame, too, that we won't see like a Cable or a Bishop in this movie, right?
Do you think you're not going to see them?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. They've done time travel.
Yeah.
Okay, that's almost everything I've read. It's always about time travel.
Yeah.
and Cable, and
They never really beat Apocalypse. They always go back and change the past.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, it's going to be really interesting how they bring, any kind of actual conclusion and defeat to Apocalypse without redoing Days of Future Past.
well, did you think they blew it on doing Days of Future Past and using kind of their powder on time travel in that movie as opposed to using it for this?
A little bit, yeah.
I agree, because how cool would it be? Because this is, to me, when you do Apocalypse, you have to do Mr. Sinister, and then you have to do Cable.
Yeah.
And you can't just do that in 2 end credit scenes. You're like, oh, we made Mr. Sinister.
Yeah.
Oh, we made Cable.
Exactly. Or at least Cable or Bishop. One of those two, right?
Yeah.
And I think we're really going to miss that aspect of, because, like I said, I haven't read a ton of stuff, but all the stuff I've read has got Cable in it. Like, he's like one of his arch enemies. And then it's always seemingly tied to Mr. Sinister in some way, too, because Apocalypse essentially creates Mr. Sinister, right? He gives him his abilities. And then Mr. Sinister creates through... Cable through... being a genesis and stuff like that.
I mean, in the Age of Apocalypse comic books storyline, you don't have Cable, but you have X-Man.
Yeah.
Which
Yes,
is
Nathan Summers.
essentially which is essentially Cable.
Yeah.
Just in a different universe. So
Yeah, so cool.
I really think... See, the Cable's hard because he's essentially the child of Scott Summers in a clone Jean Grey, but you could probably go a different route with it. That got a little weird, but it's hard to do that and have him part of... without having those 2 teenagers.
Well, I think that would have been cool as an end credit scene where you see, not Cyclops, Cable come. And he's like, we gotta go, I gotta take you with me. We gotta do something to fix the past and the future. Like, an end credit scene with Cable would just be awesome. Even better than a Deadpool end credit scene, I would think, in the X-Men universe.
Because you talked, Elliot, about, they never really defeat Apocalypse. Do you think we're going to see a definitive end to Apocalypse in this movie?
I have absolutely no idea.
Well, neither do we, but speculate away. This is your forum to speculate about anything you want.
I think that they're going to lock him away. I don't think they're going to defeat him. I think they're going to find a way to lock him either in a different kind of mental plane, which, is where him and Xavier are going to fight, or they'll find some sort of Egyptian... obelisk, I don't know, and they're going to lock him away. I don't think they're going to defeat him.
No. I think the only way they can defeat him, or if they do go this way, maybe a more contrived way, is the Four Horsemen realize what's happening, they break the psychic bond or whatever, and they turn on him, and then they do something, punch him a whole bunch. But I don't think that's an appropriate end for this, but I don't know. What do you think is going to be the event, the time travel event, if you will, that actually awakens Apocalypse? So if we're taking this as a fully continuous movie franchise, starting from X1, going through, having the whole universe reset by Days of Future Past, what's going to be the point at which we say, okay, Apocalypse has awoken early, like he did in the comic books? So with Age of Apocalypse, Legion goes back in time, right?
Yeah.
And to kill Magneto, accidentally kills Xavier. And so we have this major event that happens that awakens Apocalypse 10 years earlier than he usually would have. And that's where you get Age of Apocalypse and you get this whole other timeline because they've gone back and changed something again with this time travel thing.
Right.
So is it going to be the Days of Future Past and dicking around with the timeline that actually awakens Apocalypse, where in the original timeline he never was awakened because he just wasn't ready yet? And this event has changed the timeline, so now it's changed where Apocalypse actually wakes up. Yeah. And so is there going to be something else? Is it going to be that pivotal moment where Mystique chooses one side over the other? Because again, with Mystique in particular, we've talked a lot about this offline, is this character isn't traditionally part of the X-Men. No. And she's not usually front and center as what she appears to be in this movie as far as leading the X-Men, leading and being potentially a teacher of the new X-Men youth. And for me, that point at which she doesn't shoot Bolivar Trask is the changing point for that character. Assuming we go the normal timeline, she shoots Bolivar Trask and then she goes down this dark path. She doesn't do that. She's on a different path. That's, in my head, how I justify the fact why she's part of the X-Men now, as opposed to not. As opposed to being the character that we saw in X1, X2.
That's a really interesting way to look at things. I never really thought of that, but that's really interesting.
Because I think you have to do that. Otherwise, you're kind of like, why is Mystique, who's been a villain in the cartoons, in the comic books, in X1 and X2, why is she part of the X-Men? Is it just because Jennifer Lawrence? And I don't know if that's something I've contrived in my head to make sense of this, because I love continuity and I need things to make sense. So I'm wondering if it's going to be that point, or them messing around so much with the time stream and changing things, and that's why we get Apocalypse waking up in this, as opposed to him never waking up in the original timeline.
You never see him. So now they've gone back and changed things. Yeah. So now he's going to wake up.
Yeah.
You know, because if it was just, let's say, 5,000 years, he would have woken up before X1 came out. So yeah, something's screwy.
That's very much an Age of Apocalypse sort of. It's not, maybe it doesn't have the same profoundness of the death of Charles Xavier,
right?
But it's something they've dicked around with the timeline.
Yeah.
And so I think that's going to be the big turning point for, you know, how you relate in what's going on in Days of Future Past into Age of Apocalypse.
Right.
But then they went and screwed that up by having the end credit scene or whatever, where everyone was fine and happy and jolly.
Makes it out. That's why I really want to see like a Bishop or a Cable show up at the end and be like, because you guys did this guy's here now. You know what I mean? Come with me if you want to live.
Yeah. Come with me if you want. But they should have, in Days of Future Past, they should have just had Wolverine walk into Xavier's office and have that scene, but none of the stuff before it.
Exactly.
So we don't know what's happened. And because of the news we talked about last week about Patrick Stewart, Xavier signing on to be in Wolverine Part 3.
Yeah.
And so that's fine. We can continue that future on. We know these two survived. That's great. But if they had just eliminated everything else, because now there doesn't seem to be any consequences for this movie, because we know everyone survives.
Exactly.
Unless they go around and start messing around with the time stream again.
Or they're all clones.
I'm pretty sure that end scene in Days of Future Past was just so we all knew that X-Men 3 and Wolverine Origins was no longer canon.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
They just put that in there so everybody was happy. And let's be honest, we were.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, especially X-Men 3.
Yeah.
It was a tough one to watch.
X-Men 3 was bad. I mean, Origins was pretty bad, but it had a pretty cool opening crawl. Like, you know, there's some parts of that movie that I liked. Yeah.
Wolverine Origins, that is one of the best opening sequences to a superhero movie that
makes so much sense.
I'll go back and just watch that and then shut the rest of the movie.
Yeah, for sure. I love that part.
Just going through all the wars and that, it's incredible.
That was so cool. I loved it.
And then
it just went all down. It's like a different director after that.
Let's get someone really good just to do this opening sequence.
We gotta hook everyone. We're just gonna show this as the trailer. I would have been right in there.
Because then at the end you get some like weird CGI Charles Xavier kids. That's
weird. I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's really weird. And then you had Emma Frost in a cage, and I think there's even a Quicksilver jumping around. It is weird.
This is, a very, very strange timeline. Like I said, they don't really adhere much to the continuity they set up from movie to movie. And what's weird about that, it's the same he's directed, 3 or 4 of them, Bryan Singer?
Yeah. Well, Bryan Singer actually only did 1, 2, and then he came back for Days of Future Past.
Yeah, and then this one, 4.
Yeah, because he was going to do Part 3, but he went on to do Superman Returns.
Yeah.
And he also took Cyclops with him. Yeah. That's why he's not really in 3.
I feel like you have a lot of hate built up there for that.
Yeah. You know, I mean, to be honest, I doubt they're going to address it.
You don't think so,
I have a feeling they're just going to go right into it, and Apocalypse is going to be there.
I think they need something. They need to build a little weight behind it. Like, there's consequences for what you did before. Because I think that's a way you can get around time, like not time traveling, and say, we can't do this anymore because there's like major consequences. Like the last time we did this, we woke up Apocalypse.
Yeah. But I guess the only one that would remember that is Wolverine.
But he's gonna have his mind wiped if he goes into the X program or whatever, right?
Yeah, that's
he's not gonna remember anything anyway.
Yeah, because this is before he wakes up.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's right.
I don't know what they're gonna do.
Yeah.
Seems immensely confusing, but
I mean, I don't think we're gonna see Cable. I think that's gonna be saved up for Deadpool 2, to be honest. You know, nothing's confirmed, but if you listen to some of the rumors, everyone's pretty geared up on having Cable in Deadpool and then rolling that into X Factor. So I would be very surprised if Cable shows up. And I mean, as we said earlier, you know, they've done the time travel thing in Days of Future Past, and maybe they wasted it on that, but I mean, I thought that was a great movie. So
Agreed.
It's,
Agreed.
you know,
Yeah.
it's hard to say that we would have gotten something better if they had done something different.
That's true.
You know, so you know that was.
I don't really
years
know
already.
if this universe would have carried on without like that. That movie made a ton of money and it got people reinterested.
Yeah.
And that Days of Future Past kind of melded these two universes together,
Yeah.
and at the same time melded both audiences together, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
And Days of Future Past is probably one of my favorite outside of X2.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
because a lot of the reason is they brought back the original cast, particularly like Hugh Jackman, Patrick Stewart,
Yes.
Ian McKellen. Like they brought those guys
Even
back.
on Page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And-
I love that one. But I guess you can't do a Days of Future Past without time travel.
No.
And for the general audience, you can't do 2 time traveling
Yeah,
superhero movies.
especially
back
not
to
in a
back.
movie.
Yeah.
Or in a row.
In a
No.
row, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, I love Days of Future Past. Then First Class. I loved
Yeah.
First Class. What they did with that movie was cool.
I mean, one other thing I loved about Days of Future Past, even though it's not the movie we're specifically talking about, is Blink is one of my favorite characters.
Yeah.
She's cool. Yeah.
And she was awesome.
And the fight scene, the beginning fight scene with Iceman, with all
Yeah.
the mutants doing their own
Yeah.
kind of like Avengers kind of fight.
Yeah.
That was incredible. Yeah.
And then they got Bishop in there too. And it is a good movie.
It is a good movie. I love
And
that.
it ties really well to this. And, do they just say, screw it, we're doing time travel all the time with X-Men? Because even right now in the comic books, like, it's really, like, there's all sorts of time travel. Like, they've yanked the original X-Men, like, the really young X-Men from the 60s, they've yanked them and put them into present day, and they've kind of hung out in present day.
That's true.
And it's something that's always just embodied in Apocalypse storylines,
Yeah.
is time travel. Like, I'd be happy if they did it, but the
Yeah.
problem with time travel is you end up with these big contrivances in the sense that you can just fix anything by just going back a year later.
It's pretty
or whatever,
tough
right?
too. I think it confuses the audience, like looking at Terminator 1 and 2 also, but then as the series goes on, the franchise, you're kind of like, wait, how does this connect to here and this connects to here? Like it's a little confusing.
It makes continuity very difficult to keep straight.
Yeah.
But Fox might benefit from that.
Yeah. That's true.
People being like, oh, if you did this and this, it erases that and then that.
Continuity? What continuity?
You don't have to pay attention to anything anymore.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about Mr. Sinister and his relationship to Apocalypse. And I know we kind of touched on this a little bit, but I want to kind of wrap that section up in the sense that, do you think he's going to be at least seated at the end of the movie for, say, the next entry into the X franchise? Because he seems like a likely villain to be put into there. So, and that's an easy seed from an Apocalypse movie if you're trying to do something that's adapted a bit more from the comic books.
Right. That's a really good call, actually, because Mr. Sinister and cloning goes hand to hand. So maybe if they did defeat Apocalypse, he's the one that clones another Apocalypse, because he's always cloning people, right?
So, Jean Grey.
Right?
Maybe that's how they link it into Deadpool.
Yeah.
Through that kind of cloning of Jean Grey and birthing Cable.
Yeah, but that'd be kind of cool. I'd actually kind of like to see Mr. Sinister show up at the end. Yeah,
because they have to do something the next level, right? Because it's going to be very hard to follow your big bad villain.
Yeah.
With something that's smaller scale or a smaller, more personal movie. And all these movies, all superhero movies are going to go through this eventually, right? The cinematic universe, the Marvel Cinematic Universe can go through this. Once Thanos is done, they have to step into something different.
Yeah.
Once they go through whatever the hell they're going to do in DC Cinematic Universe, throw in whomever. Steppenwolf or whatever.
That would actually be a good transition because, Apocalypse, as we said, is all about big wars, conquering the planet, conquering mutants and humans. And then on the opposite end of that, Mr. Sinister is really more about back end, really just
puppet master kind of strings,
like pulling a lot of strings behind the scenes and just trying to manipulate people and get control that way. So it'd be a good transition away from something where it's big battles and then into another type of film where you're going to see a type of a Mr. Sinister type of different style movie.
Yeah.
When you look at the trailers from this thing, we're looking at like massive scale, kind of tearing the earth apart sort of explosions and destruction. And it's going something maybe a bit more personal would maybe be the way you have to go. And, with the next step into the 90s, so they're doing these decades at a time, are we going to get finally, because it doesn't look like we're going to get them in this, is the colorful costumes outside of maybe Psylocke.
Yeah, well, I really like the ones in Deadpool.
Yeah.
What's her face? The
Negasonic Teenage
I
Warhead.
loved her costume. That's perfect. Just give me that with maybe some blue.
But we're back to the Bryan Singer black leather sort of costumes.
No. And they actually tried doing that in the comics too when that came out in like 2000.
Yeah.
Wolverine had no shirt underneath, just a jacket and like a hairy chest. It was horrible.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So let's talk a bit about kind of the new X-Men that we're seeing introduced in this movie. So we said at the top, we're getting kind of the reintroduction of our mainstay X-Men. You know, the Xaviers, the Magnetos, Mystiques and that. But now we're getting kind of the X-Men that we're all really familiar with from particularly the cartoon.
Yeah.
The X-Men that we grew up with.
Yeah.
And so we get a new Cyclops.
Yeah.
A new Jean Grey. And Nightcrawler.
Yes.
I'm super stoked
excited
for Nightcrawler.
Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely.
He's gonna. I hope he's just as badass as he is in the comic because he's great.
And his appearance in X2 was just incredible. That's one of my, again, the X-Men holds for me at least two of the best opening sequences in superhero film. The one in the Wolverine Origins, as well as in X2, the White House scene with Nightcrawler.
Yeah, I agree. Awesome. In the comics, he has by far my two favorite events in the Age of Apocalypse comics is one early on in his series, which is Excalibur, I think. He's arguing with someone and someone points at him and he grabs the guy's finger and he teleports away with the guy's finger and he's like, it's rude to point.
Oh, no way. That's awesome.
And so that's pretty much how they introduced Nightcrawler. And then a few issues later, he's actually fighting Deadpool. And Deadpool's just a mess. He's already crazy to begin with in the regular comic books and in the regular series and in his movie. But now he's been tortured and he's just gone nuts. And he ends up killing Deadpool by teleporting his head off his body and into a rock.
Nightcrawler's he's down.
Yeah, he's hardcore and he does not care. He's got a mission and he wants to do it and don't get in his way. So I mean, if they could kind of bring some of that badassery into the film, I think that would be neat.
Is he at all religious? Because he's super religious in X2, and his opening was awesome in the White House. Yeah. Is he anything like that in the comics, roughly? Or?
You don't really see it.
No.
But he's got his two wicked swords. He's got his swords with him. So we'll see if that comes in.
Yeah, he's been reintroduced recently because I think he was dead for a while in the comic books, and he's been reintroduced recently back into the X-Men universe. I haven't read much of it, but he was one of the ones I looked at because it was oddly named, and then they kind of retroactively they did an issue and it was like called whatever X-Men, and then they went back and renamed it Nightcrawler. The second printing run.
When they brought him back?
Yeah, when they brought him back.
Yeah, they did a thing where it was like Amazing Nightcrawler, Amazing X-Men, because they were switching around like the amazing titles.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And he was one of the characters I looked at and I was like, maybe I should get back into the X-Men universe because I love that character. Yeah. I'm so stoked he's going to be in this movie because, like we said, he's got some of the best moments in comic books and also some of the best moments in film. And it was really a shame they didn't come back for X3.
Yeah. People loved him. They made a video game tying in to X3 and X2 and he was in it, him and Iceman, but then he just disappeared in X3 movie and people were like, why is he not back?
I mean, I think the actor didn't want to come back.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He was sick of sitting for 15 hours to get blue makeup.
Yeah, he was awesome. He was like one of the highlights in that movie.
Is that Ray Park? No, he did Toad.
Yeah. This guy was in he's in The Good Wife. For all you Good Wife watchers, I like that show.
Guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
Everyone's gonna hear this on the internet, right?
Yeah, they actually just finished a series like 2 weeks ago, series finale. So, anyways,
most people's guilty pleasure stuff is I'd like to go watch superhero movies, and we're like, no, superhero movies. Our guilty pleasures are The Good Wife.
The Good Wife court drama.
Stay tuned for the Nerd Room episode 24 when we review The Good Wife series finale.
Yeah.
Yes. I put a caveat there. We're not doing that, so make sure you come back. And Cyclops, do you think he's going to live up to his X1, X2? Because I really liked him in the original X-Men. And the actor that did him, I think he played him kind of straight edge enough. Mm-hmm. And I liked his presence in particularly X2. X1, have you gone back and tried to rewatch that recently?
About a year ago. Yeah, X1 and X2.
Do you think it holds up? Because I had a really hard time with some of the CG. And it is, I think, year 2000.
Yeah. Courtney's never seen it, so I played it for her, and she loved it. She's like, this is pretty cool. And I thought it was okay. The CG was pretty bad. Yeah. Toad's tongue was a little weird, and some of the lines were a little corny from Halle Berry.
Yeah.
The lightning.
Yeah.
That's a Joss Whedon line.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
From the Gifted series?
No, he wrote part of that script.
Oh, he wrote that script.
I think he wrote some of it, and I think that was one of the only things that survived from his... It was that stupid line that Halle Berry said.
What happens
like,
to a toad when it
yeah.
touches lightning?
Yeah.
The same thing that it
happens to everything else.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you watch the cartoon, she's very poetic in the cartoon, right? And so I kind of have a feeling that they tried to bring that out into her in X1, and it just did not work.
Yeah, that's right.
But, in the cartoon, she's really very poetic when she calls down thunder from the forces of whatever she's talking about.
That's true, yeah.
And do you think they're going to bring some of that in here? Because she's got that really cool badass mohawk.
Oh, right from the 80s.
Yeah.
So cool.
Mohawk Storm. She's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
I think she's going to be hardcore.
Yeah.
I think Apocalypse has whatever mind control over her, and I think she's just going to throw everything against the X-Men that she can.
Because she's, particularly as we went through the X and even into Days of Future Past, she's constantly kind of stepping back from the limelight.
Yeah.
Where in the cartoons, I was really used to her being kind of one of the leaders.
Yeah. She's a big factor in the X-Men.
And
she led the second team.
Yeah. Was it the blue and red? They had like a red and blue team.
Yeah, something like
that. I think Cyclops was one, and she was the other.
Yeah, Cyclops led one, and she led the.
Because I'd like her to take, and I'm guessing at some point during the movie when she's released from Apocalypse, is she's going to join the X-Men in some form,
right?
Or at least go to the school or whatever,
right?
And I'm really hoping that coming out of this movie, we just have our core new X-Men.
Yeah.
And that's the team that goes forward with kind of Magneto and Charles Xavier, the two actors McAvoy and Fassbender, taking a back seat to that and propelling them through and saying, your new trilogy is this X-Men, and we're finally getting kind of almost recreation of the cartoon X-Men, which would be really cool.
For sure. I really want Cyclops to be the focal point, because he's been the leader, and I kind of feel like I like the actor they had for part 1 and 2 and 3, but I just don't feel like they never gave him justice. He was never like that Optimus Prime character where he's meant to be at the forefront of the team. So I really hope they shine a light on him more. He's a good actor. I've seen him in Mud, and he's pretty cool as a kid. So I hope he gets some shine in this franchise, kind of like the Captain America role.
Yeah,
I hope they don't have Mystique take on the leadership role.
Exactly.
And I think that's a fear that most people have who are interested in comic books and comic movies, and are watching these trailers, just thinking that because it's J-Law and her star power that they're gonna just make her the leader or the de facto leader, and I just hope they don't do that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Yeah, and I want to see a Dark Phoenix story done right. I hope they can kind of go back that route.
That's another next level you could do after this movie. Is a Dark and do it properly.
Yeah.
Instead of taking just minor points of the Dark Phoenix saga, because that's like one of the the praised X-Men stories, right? And it was really fumbled.
Well, X-Men 3 never happened, remember?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So just redo it.
Yeah.
Rebooting movies or redoing storylines because they never happened. Sure. One of the characters that stole the show in Days of Future Past was Quicksilver. And he's coming back, and looks like he's part of the team here. Yeah. And apparently he has the best scene again.
I've heard that as well.
Yeah.
Cool.
In Age of Apocalypse. In Apocalypse. After this movie, do you think they're going to be able to do that continually? Are they always going to have this one scene with Quicksilver where he does something really cool? So in the trailer, I don't know if he does it a couple times, but he's running through the X-Mansion. And so I'm interested to see what they do with him in particular.
Well, I think part of the beauty of the Days of Future Past scene was that the music and the scene and the imagery was so... At that point, it was a new thing. We'd never really seen that specific type of a scene. And so the music really played a big part to that. And so I think it's going to be during a big battle scene again. He's going to be running through... again, there's got to be some sort of music to go along with the imagery that I think is what's going to make that scene so great again. Can they do it again? We'll see what happens with this one. And
I think with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that portrayal was really what degraded the Quicksilver in Age of Ultron, because you can't stand up to that. And that movie dropped a couple weeks before. Yeah. And so you're looking at this, you're like, oh man, like what are they going to do? And they kind of try to do a little bit, but it feels like Marvel is just like, we're going to fold here, and exactly. We're not going to try to compete with this. Just kill them, and we'll kill them off. We'll do some cool stuff with Scarlet Witch, and we'll take that, and we'll take Quicksilver, and we'll just be done.
Exactly. And I like they dropped the accent too, because the accent in Age of Ultron wasn't doing it for me so much. So I'm glad they stayed away from that. But do you think they'll introduce Scarlet Witch at some point in this universe?
I don't know if they really have to.
They don't have to at all, no.
And, as far as people wanting it from the comic books, maybe.
Yeah.
But with the amount of new characters that they're already introducing, do they need another one with, like, ill-defined powers?
Yeah.
No. The reason why I bring that up is because then that can kind of lead them to a House of M storyline, right?
True.
Which is something that's a pretty huge story that they could mess around with.
No more mutants.
In Days of Future Past, you do see him with a sister.
Exactly.
So, they planted that seed if they want to. I think her powers are too
Extreme.
big, too extreme.
They're always used as a plot point in almost everything that Bendis did, in the sense that, we need her to do this, so we're just have her go crazy, and because her powers there's no definition on them, she can do anything. We painted ourselves into a corner, just have Scarlet Witch come in and do something.
Exactly.
And so at least with some of the X-Men that we have right now, we kind of know what their powers are. Again, Jean Grey's another one that kind of can do a whole bunch of stuff, but I guess with having these early on X-Men, maybe they're going to be kind of still training. We don't have them fully well developed, but I don't think they need to bring a Scarlet Witch into this.
Right.
And again, that brings on confusion because she's now had 2 appearances in the MCU.
Yeah.
And she's kind of established there.
That's true.
And they've seemingly said, Fox, you take Quicksilver, we're going to take Scarlet Witch. We'll just leave it there. And don't have to worry about that.
That's a good point. Because he has another sister too, right? There's the other one.
Yeah.
Or at least Magneto has another daughter. I can't remember her name.
Yeah. And that's something that's acknowledged in the trailers too.
Yeah.
Quicksilver says, Magneto's my dad. It seems like a really funny moment.
Because I like how they called upon that in the last one.
Yeah.
He said something about Magneto being his dad.
He said, my mom said something about my father being able to control metal.
Yes, that was it.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty funny. And then the comics came out later, like, they're not related.
Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of funny.
Yeah, they did something really weird recently.
Them.
They basically said that there's no, like, the lineage doesn't go back to Magneto anymore.
Yeah.
So they've changed all that.
So you don't know if they're Inhumans or something?
I never really followed through with that. I always thought they were pushing more again towards these Inhumans. Everyone's Inhuman, not actually a mutant.
Mutants, yeah.
And so then we have this thing too, the... what's it called? The event, the X-Men event is coming.
Apocalypse War?
No, we think it's the death of the X gene.
Oh yeah, someone died. No, that's
Dead No More. That's Spider-Man.
Yeah, Spider-Man.
The Last of X or something.
Yeah,
like that.
something. Yeah,
something weird like that. Do you have anything else that you want to tie into? We can.
So one last thing I was just going to bring up is for anybody that watched the cartoons, I recently went back and watched a few of the Apocalypse specific ones, and a really, really interesting thing that I found is that in the trailer for X-Men Apocalypse now, you hear Apocalypse say, from this world, you hear Apocalypse say, from the ashes of this world, I'll build a better one. And that is directly lifted from the cartoon. He says that specific line in the cartoon. And I have a feeling, he's got a bit of a monologue in that episode, and it's season 1, episode 10 or 20. I could see them lifting a few other just really neat lines that he comes out with. So nice. I'm going to watch for that.
Nice. Yeah, and that's something I'd like to go back and revisit because I haven't quite got there. Though I remember those quite fondly, those cartoons, and maybe I'll try to go check them out this week. I guess we have to find them maybe on iTunes or something like that. Or somewhere more deviously on the web. Don't condone this stuff.
Going back to the cartoons was actually funny because I love the Fox Kids cartoons, but we all know that Wolverine's like a Canadian Canadian kid. But I remember watching on Netflix the Amazing Spider-Friends, or Spider-Friends, whatever it is, where it's like Spider-Man, Iceman, and Firestorm or something or other. But anyways, there's an episode where they come across the X-Men. And Wolverine's voice actor is actually Australian, which was kind of funny. So I thought back in this cartoon came out in like the 80s, and that's the first cartoon appearance we've ever seen of Wolverine, and he was this Australian
crazy
kind of character. So, anyways, go back in there and watch it. It's pretty funny. Yeah.
So if you guys want to go back and check out some more significant stories in relation to Apocalypse in the comic books, we'd recommend going back and checking out Rise of Apocalypse for sure for his origins. That was published in 1996. There's The Fall of the Mutants, which is a series of 3 different books that was published in 1988, which is another one that kind of deals with the Archangel story and all that. And then there's also Age of Apocalypse, which is one that I'm particularly fond of, and I know you guys are as well. So go back and read those. They're not particularly too hard to get your hands on, and look out for them in like chapters and all that, because with the movie coming out, they always release and re-release the trades, and you go pick them up for $15 or whatever. Sure. It kind of gives you a little bit more backstory to some of these characters, because like I said at the top, having gone back and reread some of this and doing a little bit of research on this, I'm way more amped up than I was even a week ago for this movie. Super excited.
Yeah.
And this being kind of the fourth superhero movie that we're getting already in the summer, it might start to wear in on people that, do I have to go see another, or do I want to go see another superhero movie, even though we're seeing them from different franchises. I guess technically Deadpool is connected to the X universe, but it seems to be kind of more of a standalone.
Yeah.
So with that, let's do a little box office prediction for this. So going back to the origins of this particular trilogy, X-Men First Class scored a $55 million opening weekend. Yeah. And the follow-up to that, Days of Future Past, which was a couple years ago, scored a $90 million opening weekend. So that's one of the top-end ones relative to the original trilogy of movies. The number one still sitting is X-Men Last Stand with a $102 million opening.
What about Deadpool?
Deadpool was just over 130.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was a big one.
Yeah.
And that was start of summer, and that was something vastly different.
And the promoting was incredible.
Yeah.
The marketing for that movie was wow.
And so one thing I've been hammering on about this movie is it kind of feels like something that we've already seen. Now I feel a bit more invested in the characters in that, and I'm maybe shying away from that opinion that I had over the last couple of podcasts. But I still wonder if we're in a world where now we've seen three big movies, and we're talking like top end ones, and we're getting again probably something that's going to be as good as Days of Future Past, and internationally it's playing very similar to Days of Future Past. I think it's already raked in about $100 million.
Well,
so I'm curious, do you think this is going to have an effect of superhero fatigue, something that we talked a bit about last week when we're looking at summer blockbuster movies?
Yeah.
Or do you think it's going to suffer from something that people have, like, I've already seen this in the X franchise, do I need to go see this again? Or do you think this is going to be another standout like Days of Future Past was, or Deadpool was, being that people are now going to connect those universes up, say, maybe I'm going to get a glimpse of Deadpool, or maybe they're doing something different? Because I think, in particular, the X universe, and with the rated R Wolverine and Deadpool being such a success, is that they're migrating more towards this darker, more rated R stuff. So we're getting this, what appears to be Berserker Wolverine in there. We're probably going to get an F-bomb in there.
Oh, yeah.
And I think this whole franchise is moving more towards this rated R. They're finding their niche, where Marvel's kind of this clean cut and DC's somewhere in between.
Yeah, and these are timepieces too, right?
Yeah.
The 80s, the 70s, and the 60s.
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, Batman v Superman, we all know wasn't that great, and then Deadpool was great.
What do you mean?
I love how he puts that in.
and then Civil War obviously was really great, and I think what we're going to get is actually people are going to have really good expectations of another Marvel movie. I would say a lot of the average viewers who don't really understand MCU versus X-Men and why they're not the same studios, blah,
Fox
blah,
and whatnot.
Yeah, are going to see this and they're going to say, oh, Marvel's putting out another movie and it's going to be really good. Look at the past two that they've put out this year, Deadpool and Civil War, have been great. So, I don't think it's going to smash any records, but I think it's going to do very well.
So what would you put it at for box office take domestically?
I'm thinking about 98, 99, maybe 100. I just don't feel like it's been promoted that well, basically. And I feel like there has been much promotion behind this film. And I think it unfortunately, where it lies is like we've seen Deadpool, we've seen Superman, we've seen Avengers or Captain America, and now we're getting X-Men. So I kind of feel like people are a little fatigued, and it's just, the movies are just a little too close together.
We're also trying to capture that early summer window.
Yeah.
Which maybe this would have done better a little later on in the year.
Yes.
Like, say, in August time.
Exactly. Or July even. Right?
Yeah. July's pretty packed with bigger summer blockbusters, but you're looking for a bit of opening space, but it's offset enough from Civil War, because Civil War was knocked down a peg by Angry Birds.
Angry Birds, yeah.
It did cross $1 billion mark this past week.
Knocked down a peg.
I think Angry Birds did 39 and Civil War did 33.
Yeah.
Jungle Book went down to 4.
I don't know. I would say it's going to be about like average or a little bit above average. I don't know if it's going to hit $100 million.
Because that's a mark I think they're looking for. Because all their movies have seemingly just underplayed that. With the exception of the last time, which just did over, I think, 102 million domestically.
Yeah, it was at its peak back
then. And that was, again, the third movie in a trilogy. X2 was really good. So if you follow that same pattern, Days of Future Past was really good. That brought a lot of people back into the franchise, got people excited about these new characters, about the new actors portraying these. We're seeing a lot of good stuff coming out as far as who they're putting into this. Again, I'd really recommend people going back out and check out some History of Apocalypse. And I think this is going to break the $100 million mark.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah?
I'm pegging this at 105. This is going to be the biggest opening. I may eat my words here. But I think this is going to be the biggest opening. I think it just has enough behind it.
Yeah.
And like you said, Elliot, the momentum that Marvel has with their movies, just having that Marvel stamp on it,
Yeah.
I think that's going to drive it up and over.
Yeah.
But in the back of my mind, I'm taking your point really to heart here, Troy, is the superhero fatigue. And are people going to be tired of seeing superheroes punch other superheroes?
Yeah.
And I think one of the other things is if we... I haven't checked the reviews lately, but last I heard was that people who had seen it were giving it good reviews, but critics were not giving it such stellar reviews.
Oh, okay.
And that's one of the things that plagues these superhero movies is you get... I'm sorry.
Here we go. Wait for it.
Our last podcast, I promise I would not dig into this anymore.
Give me a B.
You get Batman vs Superman, which the critics hated and the fans... Not all of us loved it. And you get Civil War, which is highly praised.
Yep.
And then Deadpool again, which is highly praised and fans loved it. But you get other movies which critics hate, like say Man of Steel, which I really enjoyed.
Love that movie.
And so is this going to fall in that realm where the critics kind of tag this a lot, kind of dump on it, and the fans really love it? So it's how much you can put into that sway that the critics have over top of like a fan. And Batman vs Superman still did $166 million this opening weekend, even though all the critics hated it.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm pegging this a little bit higher. I was a little high on my Civil War prediction.
Yes.
I was really low on my Deadpool prediction, so I'm looking for kind of this Goldilocks zone right now.
in the middle.
So,
Well, I'll go see it twice.
we've got to sort out our viewing here right after the podcast.
Yeah, hopefully I can see it this Thursday.
Yeah.
You guys are all down.
Anyways, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure talking comics.
Yeah.
Elliot, thank you very, very much for coming on.
Thanks for
No,
coming on,
thank
man.
you.
Come
Thanks
back.
for having me.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to
was great.
having you back next week.
Okay.
To review this bad boy, to review X-Men Apocalypse.
Nice.
Where can people find you on the internet?
I'm all over the place. No.
Yeah.
You can get me on Twitter at ESWeinst. My alias is Samuel Jennings online, so look for that.
Yeah. All right, guys. For the Nerd Room, I'm Tim.
I'm Troy.
And I'm Elliot.
Thank you for entering the Nerd Room.
Boom.
Oh, yeah, you should do the door thing that Sanjay used to do. Is Sanjay still around? I don't know.
And Sabanur.
I like that one.
If I ever want to say that word ever again, I'm just going to dub myself from here. Ansabanor. I'd be a terrible follower. I could not chant that. Ansaba. What do you say?
The morning light.
I'd just be
Dawn awakens.
I'd just be humming it.
The Force Awakens? No, that's not it.
All right, guys, we are out. Don't forget to subscribe and rate and review us on iTunes. You can find our hosts Tim, Sanjay, and Troy on Twitter at TheNerdRM, 1912 Podcasting, and Troy, The Boy, 87.